The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Welcome to it, Roadshow Thursday. It's Hail Varsity. We're live here at Haymarket Park. Just an awesome, gorgeous backdrop. Beautiful weather at Haymarket Park for the Saltdogs home opener. Claiborne in town. They are taking some batting practice right now, and whoever's in the cage is trying to hit semis along that I-80 entrance into Lincoln Memorial Stadium in front of me. The Lincoln skyline off to my right. And PBA peeking around the corner of right field. Elijah Herbel is stuck in studio, not intentional. It just worked out that way, but he's wearing his baby blue. I've got my baby blue polo on as well. Connor Clark, your voice of the Saltdogs, may be around a little bit later on. Excited to be out and about on a gorgeous May day for baseball. Numbers to get in, 489-1240, 489-1240. Can dial us up across the Hail Varsity Radio Network, toll-free 1-800-825-5865. Can email the show, chris@hailvarsity.com. And you're always welcome to check us out on the Stream Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Like and subscribe there. And find us across the different social media platforms. AM 590 Omaha's ESPN, Hail Varsity Radio at HVarsity Radio, KFOR, Facebook, and Twitter. And, of course, Central Nebraska's Superstation, ESPN, Cardi Hastings, Grand Island, News Talk 900, Columbus. There are some affiliates that will be breaking away around 4:30 or so for Nebraska baseball. Huskers sent to touch gloves with Michigan State at 5 o'clock this afternoon. We'll get into some Husker baseball thoughts, some reaction to the NFL schedule. We'll put the question of the day to you. The NFL owns football. The NFL owns TV ratings. The NFL owns most of your Sundays. It's awesome to turn the ball games on and just lock in on a triple header. Totally agree. But if you could pick, would you shift Thursday nights back to college football? I know we've whined about Friday night games from time to time in Big Ten play, but Thursday night college football was something you're used to, and then the NFL took it over. Fact is fact, Nebraska will be probably kicking off against Iowa in Iowa City if it's that 3 o'clock Central start time, an hour after Kansas City's playing on Black Friday with the Chiefs in action. I mean, the NFL's just trying to take it all, and until someone stops watching, which isn't many, good luck. I mean, they're stacking double headers for Monday night, for God's sake. So we'll talk a little bit about Thursday night. Football is good on Thursday. We can agree on that. Some of the matchups not so desirable when it comes to your NFL slate. Husker football, the over-under numbers have been out for a while. We'll get Brandon Vogel's thoughts on that. Counterread.com. Vogue's 15 minutes away. Gary Barnett, longtime coach at Colorado and Northwestern. Barney will be with us in the 5 o'clock hour. Get his reaction to coming to Lincoln under the lights. Primetime night game action. We'll get Coach Coach Barnett's thoughts on that. And, yes, Danny Burke, Burke's Best Bets. We'll get his take on the weekend and some NBA playoff action, some NHL action. Elijah, how are you hanging? What's a good word from you today?
Doing well. Excited for opening home game of the Saltdogs. I was in the studio last night for the final game of their road trip. Ended in weird fashion. We had former Husker Luke Roscom at bat in the top of the 6th inning. There was some rain coming down, and in a swing, as he's following through on his swing, he lost control of the bat. It went flying over the stands, and made it like out of the stadium onto like the concourse area, and that was the point where the umpire behind the plate said, all right, this is getting unsafe, and they canceled the game in the top half of the sixth. So a bit of a weird circumstance headed into game one for the Saltdogs, with that game shortened due to rain, something I've never seen in baseball. I've seen the bat go flying. I've never seen the bat go flying that far, where it went over the dugout, over the seats, and out of the stadium. Maybe it was Luke Roscom who was swinging for the semis on I-80. It was a big swing last night with a wet bat. So we had that weirdness there. Got to see the Broncos schedule, which I'm moderately unenthused by, but that's...
Is there a game you have circled to get out to Donkeyland?
No. I always have wanted to see the Packers play in Denver. My roommate's a big Packers fan. I have a couple friends who are big Packers fans to make the roadie out to Denver, and we can all see our favorite teams, but the Packers have only played in Denver in the regular season some ridiculously low number of times. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it's less than 10 for the long history of both of these teams. The Packers never play in Denver in the regular season. Well, I guess in the postseason either. It doesn't really matter because they're in opposite conferences. They play each other a lot in the preseason. They're playing each other in the preseason this year, but who gives a damn? Other than that,
that's been my family's NFL experience. Hey, Daddy got tickets, i.e. Daddy got free tickets to Kansas City pregame season, the before they make you buy as a season ticket holder. So we went down to see Zach Taylor, my dad and I did, for his first NFL game ever. It was preseason. Then I took the family down to see Seattle 1,000 years ago, and that was all right.
Quickly, do you just want to hear the Broncos' home schedule this year?
Yes.
The first home game is week 2 against the Steelers. Okay, Russell Wilson Bowl,
great.
maybe that
Sure.
could be interesting. And then you have home against the Raiders, home against the Chargers. That's week 5 and week 6. The Panthers are coming to town week 8. Don't care. The Falcons are coming to town week 11. Don't care. The Browns, Monday Night Football, week 13. That's probably going to get flexed out of Monday Night Football because something tells me neither of those teams are going to be enthralling come week 13. You have the Colts week 15, and then the Chiefs in the final regular season game week 18. Just not very enthusing, any of the matchups there.
I think Kansas City's obvious. I think the Harbaugh visit's cool. Cleveland and Denver is sentimental. Those were amazing games in the mid-'80s.
Yep.
And I don't know, I'm kind of anxious to watch Atlanta this year. They at least get some prime time. Let's get our shout-outs going here in the StreamYard. We always say what's up to our first 5 and then some in the stream on the Hail Varsity YouTube channel. Tim is in again, says, hey, y'all. Will we go 2-1 against the Trojans, or shall we just get out the broom? Good baseball question. Spartans, but I get it. And you, Grandpa, is in Chopper 76. Good to have you back. Justin is here. Moonbot in early, says howdy nerds. Shane checks in. KG is also in the building. The other Dave says happy Thursday. It is Thirsty Thursday here at Haymarket Park for your Saltdogs opener. Just a friendly reminder, if you want to hydrate responsibly, please do so. Crazy Spider Adventures is checked back in. Brandon is here. Anonymous also in. He asked a question about Colorado. A decent CU fan asked him after the game last year, did you have to sit by any bleep holes? I told him that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. Nobody there was further than 3 feet away from me. Was 3 feet away from one. Black Hills Brandon says, what is up? He is seconding Thirsty Thursday. Our dear friend Cliff in Florida says hello. Steven is not having a good Thursday. Hopefully we can fix that. Patrick is in. Jeff says hello. Matthew also in. Walter from Philly. The other Brian. Jordan. And we'll get to more of your comments and thoughts. Mr. Jeff Snitley from the Boulder Peace Treaty seconds the motion. The NFL on Friday is dumb. I say the NFL on Thursday is, but there's just been brutal matchups. We got to see the Seattle game last year. I think Seattle beat Denver in miraculous fashion, or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe it was Denver because Seattle whiffed the kick or something. It blurs. but we got to watch that on Prime. So I was okay with that.
Can I really quickly say here, the poor Snitleys, they also had to sit next to some a-holes in Boulder, but that was after the game.
Yeah, that was us. Crew is in. Sal is here. Colin from South Bend says, what's up? Brian says, hello. Brian's asking about the Saltdog colors. He said, I thought the Dogs' colors were more red than dark blue. They've got a little navy and they've got a little red, and that's how they go. Robert is here as well. Let's talk some Nebraska baseball. Elijah, it's pretty simple. Let's talk expectations for Nebraska with this team. The word that our baseball folks have used, and you listen to the Mitch Shermans and Evan Blands of the world that have seen a ton of Nebraska baseball, Michael Bruntz's as well, and they all said resilient, and they are right. This Nebraska baseball team, just when you're out or about ready to be out on them, they find a way to come back. They come back and finish. Now, there's been some missed opportunities, clearly midweek. There's been some missed opportunities like Friday where you go into the ninth with the lead. But the good news is you found a way to get it handled. You have Sears, you have McConaughey, you have Brockett, you have guys that I don't know if Nebraska fans fully trust, but they're trending the right way. You just got a great outing from Christo. Caleb Clark has been pitching a lot of innings and been pitching very, very well. So the best thing is this baseball team's mentality. They're very even keel. And are they in line for a shared or outright regular season crown? Yes, they are. And I think anything shy of that this weekend, they're going to be frustrated with. The good news is a week from today is Omaha. The worst they're going to, I guess it could get worse, but worst case scenario, they're a 2 seed. Best case scenario, they're the 1 seed with the tiebreaker. Best case scenario, they sweep, win outright, and just continue to solidify seeding going into regionals. Obviously, take care of business, get to championship Sunday if you're Nebraska a week from now. First things first, go up to Michigan State, handle your business. Elijah, let me run down Michigan State. I told you I'm watching batting practice. That's what it should look like today, tomorrow, and Saturday against Michigan State's pitching. Their staff ERA in Big Ten play is 7.83. That's Ted Kennedy's blood alcohol level at one point in the Senate. Team ERA outside of Big Ten plays a little bit better at 6.47. They've allowed 20 runs twice in a game this season. They allowed 20 runs to Marshall, and this isn't Randy Moss's Marshall squad. They allowed 21 runs to Purdue, 10 to Central Michigan. They just gave up a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, and a 2-point conversion to Minnesota on getaway day last weekend. So if you're counting at home, 20 runs, 21 runs, 10 runs, 15 runs. Nebraska's offense should feast, should be confident, should go into tonight, tomorrow, Saturday, and let your pitchers do their thing for sure, but don't make them sweat out 2-1. Go put up some runs, do your thing, and it should be at worst a 2-1 weekend for the Big Red Sparties. 2 games under 500. They're right now in 7th in the division. They're tied for 7th, but they're trying to fend off some teams. There's a log jam of brutality on the back end of the Big Ten trying to find their way to Omaha. So it's simple enough. Go score some runs and throw strikes the next 3 days.
Well, we've said it a couple times this year. Like, the mission every single weekend in the Big Ten is a series victory. It's not a sweep. I think this weekend's an exception. With where you are in the Big Ten standings, I think the mission this weekend from Coach Bolt and the boys should be we need to go out there and sweep these guys. We are better hitters than them. We have better starting pitching than them. And I say we from the perspective of Coach Bolt. I'm not a part of this team in any way, shape, or form. But like that should be the mission from Coach Bolt is, hey, we're better than these guys in just about every single aspect of baseball. Prove it. There's a lot on the line. You need to get some momentum going into postseason play. go out and sweep a team that you can sweep. I'm not saying Nebraska should sweep them. Nebraska should get the series victory. As you said, 2-1. But the mission, I think, from the team should be to go out there and get a sweep because of what Michigan State has shown you. And I don't want to speak too loud because I don't know where Saltdogs pitcher Walter Borkovich is. He was a Michigan State standout a couple of years ago, so I need to be quiet, make sure he's not catching wind of me talking trash about his team. But, like, Sparty this year in baseball, it's a sweepable opponent on an opponent where you could, or on a weekend where you could really use a sweep. And I'm not going to set the standard as of, hey, if they don't sweep them, it's a disappointment. If they don't win the series, it's a disappointment. 2-1 is still fine, but the mission this week should be to go out and get a sweep. Understanding you probably need a sweep to give yourself a chance to go win a regular season Big Ten crown, and understanding that now is the time to build momentum into the postseason, similar to what we talked about yesterday with Lincoln Northwest. Getting hot at the right times, a lot of times one of the most important things in baseball. You got to start that run now. Go out there and whenever you should be playing your best baseball, be playing your best baseball. If Nebraska's playing their best baseball, they should end this weekend with 3 victories.
Brandon Vogel is in the green room. We'll check in with him. Some Husker thoughts. Nobody thinks Elijah is a part of the NU baseball team.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks.
That's very kind. He puts you down gently there. Brandon Vogel has got the eye black on. He's with us from Counter Reed. Hail Varsity on the road here at Haymarket Park, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Show here at Haymarket Park. Just a gorgeous sun-splashed Thursday with Memorial Stadium just off to the east here. And the downtown skyline of Lincoln, beautiful. Brandon Vogel in his football abode. From Counter Reed, counterreed.com, Saltdogs home opener.
And not to flub the intro here, but I am thinking...
We just F'd the intro. Yes, you did.
Yeah, I know I did. Should we flip it to the Haymarket Park background for the day today?
We can, sure.
I mean,
Vogue's approved.
Because I just screwed up Vogel's intro, I'll leave it up to him. Do we go the Haymarket Park background on stream, or do we go with the Memorial Stadium background on stream, Vogel?
I think it's great. Haymarket Park's day in the sun, literally, hopefully, but also on this stream.
Having trouble hearing him, as in like he's distant. Vogues, I'm going to ask this and hope you hear it. But how's the week been? It's been pretty interesting. I'm going to start with the StreamYard. I can just hear the chants in my head screaming Tucci, 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 as in Stanley Tucci's on camera with this. But on a serious note, let's get into some recruiting for a moment here and talk Dawson Merritt, and let's talk some other high-profile big fish Nebraska's competing over. What's your feel right now as you look at year 2 with the Rule program? Is it nice to be in the conversation if you're Nebraska, or is there an expectation if you're a Nebraska fan to get somebody beyond a Dylan Raiola and beat a big dog out for a high-profile recruit? What's your thought this soon in the era?
Yeah, it's not my expectation to beat somebody out necessarily for one of those caliber of players. Like, you obviously want to. Dylan Raiola arrived at Nebraska with a unique link to the Huskers. I mean, overall, like my big picture view on recruiting for any program, this would include Nebraska, is that it's pretty range bound. Like, Ohio State's always going to be like from 1 to number 8, say, depending on how many players it chooses to sign, how much room it has available, though that's a little bit different in today's game. Nebraska's always going to be somewhere between like 18 and 28. Like, that's where it recruits. I mean, that's its neighborhood. And we haven't seen a lot of instances where the Huskers have outperformed that or underperformed that to a drastic degree. I mean, there was that Bill Callahan class, the number 2, his second class, which is important. We've talked about before. Like, this is your time to move. This is your time to kind of like sell unlimited potential. That class jumped up in the top 5, but it was an outlier in that regard. So, like, you don't have a chance to land these guys if you don't get in the conversation. So the fact that Nebraska is in the conversation with some of them, not just in the conversation, but like getting them on campus, I think is the win that you take from this. If they end up landing some of them, much less multiples of them, okay, then we might really be talking about something. It may even be like a 1 year kind of upswing, but for the most part, I think Nebraska, like most teams in the country, is going to be where it traditionally always is, because I think those recruiting ranges don't have a lot to do with like success or failure. They have a lot to do with program standing and where you are in the country. So
with that in mind, Brandon, do you think Nebraska can be a team that is making college football playoffs if they're recruiting between 8 and 18? It's kind of a chicken or the egg conversation where you could say if Nebraska makes a college football playoff or two, then they have the potential to jump up higher in their recruiting rankings. But if 18 to 28, is the range for Nebraska that you can expect for the next decade plus, is college football playoff still the mission on a year-to-year basis?
Yeah, I think so. We haven't seen the 12-team playoff field play out yet, but like I've, kind of went back and retroactively looked at it from the college football playoff rankings of like what that looks like. And, the Big Ten is going to get 3 teams in, I think, every year, maybe 4. And not every year. It won't get 4 every year, but like it's going to average between 3 and 4. So your goal, if you're Nebraska, is can you be one of those top 4 teams in the Big Ten? And some of that will do with schedule. We also haven't seen a divisionless format play out and like what that looks like. But you go down the list, like if you're 18th, like if Nebraska were to be the 18th best team in the country, say, towards the top of that typical recruiting range, like you're in the mix, you're in the hunt. You're probably 9-3 if you're 18th in the final college football playoff rankings, somewhere around there. So I think it's reasonable to expect, like, yeah, you can get there being the college football playoff from that kind of recruiting base. And beyond that, development comes into the picture. The years where you're experienced, which Nebraska is going into 2024, comes into play. So I don't think Nebraska's recruiting level traditionally, I don't think it precludes it from being part of the playoff discussion. Or I guess the better way to put it, like, I don't think they need to boost that significantly to be like, okay, now you can expect playoffs.
Brayden, to zoom in specifically on this year's recruiting class, the 2025 class, which is going to sign in December/February, do you worry about Tony White and his impact, given the fact that it's I don't want to say common knowledge, but it is expected that if he gets a head coaching offer this next offseason, he is going to leave. That seems to be the trajectory we're heading in. You're not quite sure what the defense looks like after Tony White is gone, and I think recruits could probably feel the same way about that. Do you worry about that in particular affecting this specific recruiting class?
No, I can't say I've worried about it to this point, though I think it's a valid concern. And I would agree with you. Like, if this Nebraska season goes towards, like, the top end of the range of potential outcomes, like, it goes well, say 8 wins, 9 wins, I would assume that Tony White, that would be largely based on the back of the defense, based on what we saw last year. And I would assume, based on the interest we saw for Tony White after his first season, that he would have some really good opportunities. So, yeah, do you run the risk of, if that all unfolds in December, like, say Nebraska has a season that everyone is, like, ecstatic about, and you lose Tony White, do you run the risk of losing some guys who committed to play for him? Sure. I think you do in that December kind of window leading up to the early signing period. But I also think the staff does a pretty good job of recruiting to kind of program wide of like, hey, you're coming to be a part of this. Like, yeah, we want the guy who showed up at your house to be here as well. But we're happy if he goes off and gets a better career opportunity, essentially, is how you pitch that, I think. So I wouldn't worry about it as much, I guess, as I would with some people. Like, recruiting can be really connection-based. I think we saw this during the Riley era. Like, think of a guy like Keith Williams. Great recruiter, got in the door with a lot of guys and landed some that Nebraska probably otherwise wouldn't be. Those guys were coming to Nebraska, or at least considering it, because of Keith Williams. I think that's less the case now with how Nebraska chooses to recruit.
Folks, when we talk about how Nebraska recruits, they recruit as a staff. I mean, they are showing up to see what Mama's got on for dinner, all of them. And then the head man puts in a lot of FaceTime full weekends with high profile or a normal 3-star or a guy that they just like based off of film. And your coordinators have their say when it comes to the checks and balances of, an offer and a commitment. But your position coach plays such a huge role. And think about your position groups right now with Coop, with Dvorak, and with Pot Roast. Those 3 guys have reeled in some big fish. It's not that Tony White's not been a part of it. He's the mastermind. But the position coaches Nebraska just bumped and retained have been pretty influential. We don't know. We're getting way cart before the horse here with Mr. Tony and his future. But Nebraska is going to make those connections, don't you think, with the kids? And you know what? So maybe there's a new guy in headset down the road, but the guy that really connected with, aside from the head man, Matt Rule, my position coach is going to be a great relationship builder.
Yeah, I think the staff part of that is a really great point in particular, because you do, when like you see them on social media or wherever you see them, it's like we send everybody there, like, and it's not just like the top end prospects. If they can get, the entire defensive staff to a high 3-star defensive recruit, they'll do that. And, it's one of those double-edged sword kind of things. Like, it's nice to have an ace recruiter, a closer, but it also comes with some risk, right? I mentioned Keith Williams, Dante Williams before him in the secondary under the Riley era would be another guy who is still like moving up the college football chain because of his ability to do that. Like, you just run the risk of bottom line, if you're a fan, like, just get the best players you can on campus and get them in the program. I get it. But if you run the risk of, if a guy's such a good recruiter, people are going to be after him. I mean, how many secondary coaches did Nebraska go through during the Bo Pelini era? A lot of guys who were similar. And, it's like, well, if they're here because of that guy and that guy leaves, well, what do you have? And I don't get the sense that that's been the case for a lot of guys Nebraska has signed thus far.
Brandon Vogel with us from Counterread, counterread.com. Vogues, how can folks get signed up, get locked in with you and Aaron Sorensen, and what's coming up here as we say goodbye?
Yeah, you can head over to counterread.com for our paying subscribers. You get 2 exclusive newsletters a week. Do a couple of the other free posts each week, just so people can learn a little bit about what we're about. We'd be happy to have you sign up for a free subscription and give it a try for a little bit too. Working on some recruiting stuff, working on kind of a new series called The Unknowables, of players that we can't say a whole lot about yet, but are important.
Vogues, good stuff. We'll talk Saturday. Thank you much.
All right. Thanks, guys.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Thanks for hanging out. Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Thursday here at Haymarket Park, the Saltdogs season opener. And president with the Lincoln Saltdogs, Charlie Meyer, with us. Schmidt and Elijah Herbel. And Connor Clark was just in the picture but scurried out. It is awesome to be here. Charlie, thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you for coming out.
Love having you pop on with us, and we are so appreciative of the invite out here. What an amazing day for baseball. And I've tried to go Picasso here with the picture painting of... You've got the stadium, you've got Haymarket, the mowing's on point as always. Yep. There's batting practice that's ongoing. There's the backdrop of Memorial Stadium. There's PBA peeking around the corner. There's the skyline that's just beautiful, and going to be an awesome night, going to be an awesome season. You're 23 for Saltdogs baseball.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's 23 years that this all was created, and it's just wonderful. The sports triangle down here with Memorial Stadium, and obviously PBA came on later, and Haymarket Park. It all fits together, and what a great view of downtown Lincoln.
Well, let's talk about the view of Saltdog Baseball 2024, and you have entertainment, you have family fun. It's Thirsty Thursday tonight, and you got a ball club that high level, and folks are going to be excited to come out and see.
Yeah, one thing that's unique with this season with the team is it's really young. Probably the youngest team we've ever had starting the season out, and we actually don't even have a veteran, which is a player with 5 years of experience, professional experience. So we have no veterans on the squad at this time. But no, we ended up 3-3 on the road. Probably could have won the game last night, but it got rained out, and we were behind when it got rained out. And so, but we like where we started, and Cash and Brett feel very comfortable with the guys that they have here. We'll probably have to make some moves as we go along here, and whether it's on the pitching side or on the offensive side. So it's early, but you got 6 games in, 94 to go. We'll see what happens.
Charlie Meyer with us here on Hail Varsity Radio, previewing the Saltdogs season. And Charlie, one of the things I've found kind of interesting this season is American Association has allowed for streaming of the baseball games online wherever you are for free. But there's something different about being at the ballpark and seeing the Saltdogs live and in person. Talk about that for a second. It's changed in recent years. The pitch clock, just the feel of going out to a baseball game is a little bit different. But why do you think it's so special to have a team such as the Saltdogs playing 50 games in Lincoln that folks can come out and enjoy?
Well, I think it was a deal. Jim Abel had the vision of bringing professional baseball back to Lincoln. When he was a kid, he went out to Sherman Field and watched the Lincoln Chiefs play, and actually won a bicycle one night when he was at the game. And so he kind of had this, he wanted to bring minor league baseball back to Lincoln. And so fortunately the stars kind of aligned with the university and us back in 1999, 2000. And Mayor Wesley was the mayor at that time and basically got the city and kind of created this three-prong approach of 2 public entities and a private enterprise to create Haymarket Park. And I'm a little biased because I was a part of the whole process, but I think it's one of the most special places with minor league and college baseball facilities in the country. And so we're fortunate from that standpoint. And to go on to the AATV, all the games, whether the teams on the road or the teams that are here at home, are on AATV, so fans can watch the Saltdogs for free all season long, as well as they can watch other teams in the league. And I think it increases the brand, let people kind of understand the professional level of these players. I mean, nights are going to be matched up against some ex-big leaguers that are in the league, but I think the AATV thing, the pitch clock, all the different things that are happening, the mound visits and that type of thing. I mean, we're trying to shorten up the game. And last year we put the pitch clock into play, and it actually affected I think we were down 27 or 28 minutes a game. So, sometimes when you look at 9 innings of baseball, sometimes maybe it's 2 or 3 innings too long. But we create a lot of activities out here with the Kids Fun Zone, sponsored by Emeritus. We got the Buck Belcher bullpen. Obviously, you can walk around this ballpark. It's a park within a park, and try to create some fun activities for fans to come out and enjoy some baseball and enjoy this great view of downtown Lincoln. And, whether we're winning 10-0 or we're getting beat 10-0, hopefully the atmosphere, it's fun, it's family, it's affordable. That's what we've been trying to do for the last 23 years.
Charlie Meyer with us, President, Lincoln Saltdogs, Hail Varsity Radio Roadshow Thursday here at Haymarket Park for the Dogs home opener. And you have so many different opportunities. You were talking about Mr. Abel and the moment he fell in love with baseball in Lincoln. You have a chance to do that 50-plus times a night for young fans. You honor military servicemen and women on Mondays, Military Mondays. You have Thirsty Thursdays. You have all sorts of options and entertainment possibilities, Charlie, throughout the week. And spend a moment here on just putting that together and what the vision is for the entertainment side along with the on-field product.
Well, there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
Yes.
And, my GM, Shane Tritz, you're only as good as the people you have around you, and I've got a great staff. And obviously we put what I call 50 shows together. Even though it's 50 games, we put 50 shows together with all the various entertainment things, whether it's Wiener Wednesday, Fireworks Friday, Thirsty Thursday, Souvenir Saturdays, Family Fun Sundays. We're putting things together, Military Mondays. We're doing a deal on Tuesdays, Triple Play Tuesdays. We're bring out some non-perishable food and get some tickets to the game and obviously help the food bank here locally. Sure. And so we're always trying to give back and make sure that, we have an opportunity for fans to come out and enjoy professional baseball. I mean, that's, and it's really hard to believe that here we are in our 23rd season. Schmidt, I'm getting old.
I think vintage.
Vintage, there we go.
Vintage,
thank you. Okay,
right?
thank you.
It's like wine.
It's like wine.
Better,
there we
right?
go.
It's better with age.
But no, it's it's a special place, and obviously, you always want to win every game. When you look at the guys on the field and the teams you put together, that's always kind of a fun process to put that puzzle together and see how it unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
And Brett Jody does a great job of managing the club. He's probably one of the most even-keeled managers I've ever been around. And but again, these guys, as I instruct them when we kind of do a Saltdogs 101 when they all show up to Lincoln, is have fun, guys, but remember to give back and acknowledge the fans. And we really want to have that interaction with the fans and the players. And whether we win, like I said earlier, whether we win 10-0 or lose 10-0, enjoy baseball, enjoy the environment. That's really what it's all about out here at Haymarket Park.
Charlie, we're up against a break. Can I keep you a couple minutes on the other side?
Sure.
Charlie Meyer, president of the Lincoln Saltdogs, with us here at Hail Varsity Radio. Here at Haymarket Park on your home opener Thursday. Just an amazing night for baseball. And invite you out. Come check out the Lincoln Saltdogs, saltdogs.com, where you go to log on, get your series tickets. Of course, can hear the Dogs, your flagship for all 23 years, KFOR now.com with Connor Clark. More with Charlie Meyer. Coming up, Coach Gary Barnett, his reaction to the Buffs under the lights this September. He's coming up in hour 2. Hail Varsity continues. We're powered by Cornhead Lager.
Hail Varsity Radio is live. Now, back to Schmitty.
Schmitty's a great guy, but he don't have a brain.
And Elijah.
You want me to speak? When I point you, yeah.
On Hail Varsity Radio.
We'll keep some of our comments in the stream, fellas. You are in rare Thirsty Thursday form. I think
different kind of thirsty.
I think Charlie Meyer's with us, president of the Lincoln Saltdogs. And Charlie, I think some of the listeners across the stream and across Hail Varsity YouTube channel, they've started at home on Thirsty Thursday.
Hey, it's Thursday. It's the end of the week, man.
It is, man.
It's the end of the week.
Get it kicked off. But let's talk about this weekend series, Claiborne in town, and some thoughts on tonight and into the weekend. We've kind of laid out some of the entertainment side of things, but really good matchup here, early part of the season here for Lincoln.
Yeah, and the manager for the Claiborne Railroaders is former big leaguer Pete Incaviglia. So, yeah.
Big old Pete.
Big old Pete. So he's here tonight, and he'll be here through the weekend, and he's actual manager for the
He hit a ball at Buck one time that still hasn't landed.
It's still in the air, right? Yeah, those back in his Oklahoma State days and that type of thing.
Ventura.
Yep.
Yeah,
so,
man.
but, he's here managing, and, I mean, he's put together a good club. And, again, it's so early. You just really don't know till you kind of get ferreted through I would say the first 10 to 15 games and kind of get an understanding. And, obviously we were on the road for the first 6. They were home for the first 6. So now the roles reversed here a little bit. We're actually home now here for the next 7. And so we get 4 games with these guys over the weekend. And then we got Fargo coming in and the big LPS day on Monday with all the 5th graders.
Kids love it.
The kids coming into town.
Absolutely love it.
So it's a great time and great day for kids, 5th graders here in Lincoln. But so, I think you'll see some really good baseball. They started out really hot, and they lost the last couple games with Winnipeg. But, again, it's just too early to really tell. The pitcher they've got going tonight only gave up a hit and went 6 innings the first time out. So, and we're coming back with Zach Keenan, who won our game up in Fargo. So we'll see what happens. And like I said, the biggest thing is just get a kind of an understanding of what these guys can do and what they can't do. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Charlie, we've got about 60 seconds left here this segment. I know it's a short segment, but
sure.
One of the things I've been thinking about as I've been producing some games, you talked about the feeling out process the first 10 to 15 games. A lot of new faces, a lot of new names on this Saltdogs team. You already kind of laid it out. You don't have those traditional fan favorites such as Kurt Smith in the dugout. Give me a couple names that you think some fans should watch out for this year. I know Aaron Takis has had a great start to the year. Zane Zerbrug as well. Just give me a couple names you think Saltdogs fans might want to know now before the season starts.
Well, the one guy that we just signed and was signed late, Jack Drugum, and he started out blazing hot here and really kind of a quick surprise because he's a guy out of North Carolina, Charlotte. Saw his video and basically was a late signee because we really didn't need another position infielder, but we went ahead and signed him, and here he is. He's just coming out a blazing now. Whether he can continue and maintain that, we'll see as it goes. But early indications show that he's really a solid player. So he's one guy. I think the other side of it's the pitching side of it. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Bat phone.
The pitching side of it, Zach Keenan is pitching tonight for us. I think is one guy that has some real potential that could be really something. And but again, we got a lot of new guys, and a lot of these guys came from Ogden in the Pioneer League where they won the championship last year. And so I think it's a good breed. We're putting pieces together. We'll see what happens here as the season unfolds.
Charlie, thank you much.
Thank you, guys. It's always great. Elijah, nice blue shirt. Good job.
Thanks. It came from you.
Take care, buddy. Good seeing you guys.
The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Back into it, it's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, on the road here at Haymarket Park for the Saltdogs home opener. Amazing weekend for baseball. We're going to talk some football with Hall of Fame coach Gary Barnett, Colorado, Northwestern, and Missouri. Coach, what's the good word? How you doing?
Doing well, Chris. Getting ready to do our migration back from Arizona to Colorado. Got about another week down here in Paradise, and then we head back to Colorado.
Should be fun. I took junior golfing. He's had lessons, but he was 5. He's now 17, going on 25, of course. And we lost a few sleeves of balls last Saturday, but we're going to give her another run here this Saturday, I think, and need to send some footage of his swing, not mine, mind you, but his to Coach Barnett for some tips, I think, because we need to save some money this weekend.
Just buy the cheaper balls, Chris. Don't worry about it. I used to buy Podos at the Rexall drugstore. You could buy a sleeve of Podos for $1.25. So they were about 60 cents a piece. So you didn't mind losing too bad.
Oh, I'm the king of the recycled golf ball. Don't get me wrong. I don't spend extra money, but we're just running low. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I will keep that in mind. I will find my way to the drugstore, Coach. Let's.
I don't think they're out there anymore.
I don't either for $1.25, man. Hey, I wanted to get your thoughts, and a lot of buzz this week with Nebraska, Colorado. A lot of excitement in Nebraska, and quite honestly, around the world of college football with that Week 2 schedule and 6:30 kickoff. What's your reaction, Nebraska and the Buffs under the lights in Lincoln?
Well, we're 100 days away from the first game, so it's creeping up on us. When I saw that, I thought, well, that's going to be pretty cool. That'll be great, especially that time of year to play a night game. It's a little more refreshing than it would be on the artificial surface at 2:00 in the afternoon. So. I think it's great for both programs. It's going to be great national exposure, and there'll be a great build up to that thing, as you always know. And everybody in Colorado, I think, is pretty excited. Once we figure out who's on our team, so we can sort of root for them, but we don't even know who's on the team yet. So you guys have your team. You're pretty set. We have no idea who we're going to have. We know the core, about 8 or 9 guys, and after that, they're all going to be new.
Yeah, details, right? Like starting in too deep and all of that is quite important. But what is your take from a leadership standpoint with these environments? What's the word to the team? And I know we're fast forward and we've got 100 days till week 1, but man, any competitor wants to be in that arena, correct? Where it is hostile, it is tough, and that's part of the fun. That's the test, right? Taking your team to an environment like Lincoln or Boulder, or pick some of the great places in college football.
No question. It is the fun things to do, and it's. And Deion hasn't been around a lot of college guys except in the last 2 or 3 years. So, the professional teams going into a hostile environment, they just sort of handle it business-like. And but the college guys, they get stoked up and they get nervous. I mean, the crowds bother an immature, younger player. So it's that's part of the educational process that coaches have. And so one thing you want to do is try to get them as used to that environment as they can without actually being in that environment. And, everybody uses different ways of that. I used to play, when we go to Michigan, I would play the Michigan fight song. Every time I talked to the team, in the room, I would have it blaring, and they would have to pay especially close attention to what I was saying, or they wouldn't hear what I was saying. And so we played it at practice. We played it all the time, and we did that with a number of teams just to get them used to what it was going to be like when they walk in there, so that they feel like they're at home.
So is that fight song one you're more sick of? I think Nebraska fans still grab onto something and grip hard when they hear Boomer Sooner.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, no matter who it was, but yeah, Michigan and then of course the Iowa. If you're going to go play at Iowa, you're going to go into a pink locker room with pink toilets and pink everything. So I went as far as painting my entire locker room pink the week before we played them, and just to get them used to it, get them in the right mindset.
Did you buy that psychological softening going into a pink locker room? I mean, that's the reason behind it from Hayden, wasn't it?
It was. That was Hayden's excuse I think it was more of a distraction than it's actually a psychological effect. But that in itself is a psychological effect, and that's what it had. It was a distraction of it. I think people trying to figure out, why did they do this? What's this like? This is weird. And you spend more time thinking about that than you did the game. So, but it was funny. People, coaches and equipment men would call around to see the last team that won in Kinnick. They say, what did you do when you went in there with the pink locker room? And they all had different excuses, had different answers. And many teams would just take a whole bunch of paper and paper over walls. Believe it or not, they spend hours paper over walls for the 4 hours that you're there. So it just distracted everybody is what it did.
Gary Barnett's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, talking Nebraska, Colorado, week 2 under the lights in Lincoln. You guys are locked in. You're with the kids, and you're getting ready for a road environment. What's the feedback, if you've gotten any over the years, between Buff fans going to Lincoln? And we kind of anticipate a angrier, more hostile Lincoln at night, specifically for Colorado being the opponent.
I don't think the fans at Nebraska can be hostile and not friendly. They're just too good. There's two places like that. Penn State's that way, and Nebraska's that way, where you just have such great fans, and they're so respectful that you want them to be do something so that they would piss you off, but they don't. So our fans are more hostile. I think we have more problems when people come to our place than we do when we go to everybody else. So, I just expect just a great college environment when we go to Lincoln.
Gary Barnett's with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Earlier this week, Coach Rule was on with Greg McElroy and did his podcast. And, Coach, spend a second, if you can, about momentum as a team when you get the opportunity to start out at home. And Nebraska starts out at home this season. They don't leave Lincoln till the end of September, so a chance to really ramp up compared to previous years where you're starting out on the road against an Ohio State, or you're against Minnesota on the road at night, or you go to Ireland. Scheduling's a bit out of your hands, but how important is it to really get off on that right foot when the opportunity is there to have some home cooking?
Well, I think more than anything else, it's just a positive rather than a question mark or a negative. And it's a relief to start at home. It's a relief to have a couple of games and not have to be on the road and do all the things it takes to be on the road. So it's one of those things where you sort of breathe a sigh of relief and go, at least we're at home. And then the rest of it comes down to the game. But it's a factor, but it's not a huge factor.
Coach, how about this when you're working with a young quarterback and you get one that you think can be pretty good? As you've built programs and teams, what is the most important piece around that quarterback? And I think O-line is, but where do you want to start on the offensive line? Is it center? Is it tackle? Talk to me a little bit about helping out your quarterback and building that offense. What are the steps?
Well, number one is center, because whether you're taking the deep snap or whether you're taking the snap under center, which you have to do, you've got to do both these days. Used to do when we weren't taking snaps in shotgun, everything was so routine. You did it so many times. Now, I'd say probably less than a fifth of your practice, you're taking a snap from the center underneath from behind. And so, it's not as routine. You're not as comfortable. It's always a little bit of a question mark. So you always start there. And then there it goes from inside out. You're going to get rushed on the outside. You're going to get it hard. But you got to be able to step up. And that's where the confidence comes from. You got to have enough confidence to step up in a pocket and let everybody go around you. if you can't step up, then you're scrambling and running for your life on the outside. You're trying to outrun the rush. Which is really hard because you now taken a 53-yard field and turn it into a 17-yard field, wide field. So by scrambling outside the tackle box. So, I think it starts with the center, and then it's got to be inside protection and creating a space for the quarterback to step up.
Gary Barnett's with us. Few minutes, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, I want to spend a minute on some recruiting thoughts, and that being a lot of California or West Coast quarterbacks making their way east. Now, there's a number of kids that stay in Oregon or Washington or SC or UCLA. You can go down the West Coast, but more and more kids are making their way east to the Midwest or Ohio State or the Ohio Valley. Why do you think that is? Kids are more comfortable leaving home.
Well, it's easier to get places. The other thing is you got the concentration of attention for college football is the SEC for the most part. The Big Ten a little bit, and the Pac-12 doesn't exist anymore, and so there's just more good opportunities for those kids, and there's so many of them in California. Chris, they have so many of these passing leagues, and they're organized, and quarterback coaches and gurus out there that they just develop more. They're outside all the time, and they've got to have a place to play. And really those schools east of California, they're all looking for quarterbacks, and there's no better place. There's no better place than California for numbers alone and development.
Coach, when we talk about the Big Ten and those 4 new schools, we hit on it last week, and Coach Rule talked about the topic of weather and travel when it comes to building an identity for your team, being able to win in all sorts of climates, and then also dealing with the travel, specifically if you're a Pac-12 school that's now in the Big Ten and you get to go to Rutgers or Penn State or Iowa or somewhere east. How much of a factor did where you're going and the time of year you were going play into your game plan and how you wanted to build a team?
Not much. Really. You got to have an attitude where we're going to play, where we're going to play, and whoever's going to show up and play us. You've got to have that kind of an attitude. Mm-hmm. There are things that you have to get used to, especially younger kids that travel and that sort of stuff. And it's going to be a lot nicer for Nebraska to travel to Washington and Oregon than it is for Washington and Oregon to travel to Lincoln and to the middle of Iowa and those places. You're going to have a lot more fun. Your fans are going to have a little more fun going that way. So I think it's going to be really hard on the schools that just joined the Big Ten from the West Coast.
Gary Barnett with us, Hail Varsity Radio. We'll keep Coach for a couple more minutes on the other side. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Connor Clark going to pop by. Danny Burke, Burke's Best Bets. We'll get you loaded up with the NHL and NBA playoffs and his thoughts with some MLB, some prop bets, or maybe some money line ideas Danny may have. Props to the Supernovas getting it done. Be at CHI this Saturday, the 18th, for the Pro Volleyball Federation Championship, and get your seats right now. Who is going to be on top for PVF supremacy and $1 million? Get your all-session single-match tickets now. Supernovas.com. Log on today. More with Coach Barnett. We continue. It's Hail Varsity here at Haymarket Park, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you. Hail Varsity continues, powered by Cornhead Lager here at Haymarket Park. A few more minutes with former Colorado head coach and Northwestern man Gary Barnett. Got a pretty loaded quarterback class here. A lot of kids that hit the portal, but quarterbacks that nonetheless folks who are going to really be locked into watching. Let's talk about Shedeur for a minute. And what's your impression of him? I was looking at some numbers, 27 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but in the second half and in overtime, the kid's numbers, 72% completion percentage, 18 touchdowns, just 1 pick. And then in road games, the kid was 8 touchdowns, no interceptions. Could Shedeur be the best out of a really good group next season?
Well, he's going to have a chance to be. And one of the things that helps him, he's got a lot of good people around him. He's got especially receivers. He had some running back help last year, but we didn't run the ball. So you got to think that you got to understand he did all that pretty much on his own while being the most sacked quarterback in the country. So can you imagine if he's got some time and if he can have the complementary running game with it that you need, how effective he might be. So I think he's got a chance to be really, really good. Will he be the best? I don't know, but it's probably going to come down between he and Quinn Ewers and Carson Beck, maybe between those 3 guys. But there's always somebody that steps in there. The kid from Kansas is a great player as well. So all 4 of those guys have a chance to be really good. And, just Shedeur's going to have a couple receivers to throw to, and that's half of it right there.
What have you noticed about Shedeur being around him a little bit with your coverage? What is there a part of his personality that helps his game?
Well, at least publicly, he is very supportive and takes responsibility, and that I think if that's true and solid and sincere and holds up in a locker room, then that's a great asset right there.
Coach, let's switch up and talk a little bit of golf. And are you in on Happy Gilmore 2 that is going to be coming out? I'm going to ask, did you like Happy Gilmore 1? Should they roll the dice and go with a sequel?
I did like it, and it's funny you said that because I saw a post from my daughter-in-law saying, Happy Gilmore 2 is on its way. We're going to set the projector up in the backyard and watch it. So I guess I'm going to watch it either way. But I did like Happy Gilmore. It's really hard, I think, to make a sequel to something like that. So we'll see. I don't really care, frankly, but I'll watch it.
You can tell by the tone of your voice. You're like, oh, great. We're going to talk movies now. Why the hell am I taking this call?
You must have a lot of time today.
It's Gary Barnett with us. More to your heart, that is the Pro Golf Tour. PGA Championships going on in Louisville. Do you have a favorite? Is there someone you're leaning towards? And I assume you'll be watching Sunday.
I will. Yeah, I'm trying to tape it, but it's ESPN Plus. They're not letting me tape it or record it, so I have to figure that one out. Schauffele is hot. In fact, he's 5 under now and leading, but you never count out Scheffler. I mean, you never count that guy out. I don't care. He's unbelievable. And so, but I do like, and I think Victor Hovland's close, ready to maybe make a move. So I like those 3 guys, but it'll always be somebody else, I'm sure.
Coach Barnett with us, Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, the weekend plans aside from golf, tee time set up or not?
Oh yeah, tee times are set up, but it's we're packing for the migration. That's the big news here.
Well, Coach, get packed up, and we'll check in again soon. Thanks for a few minutes.
Great being with you, Chris. Thanks.
Good stuff from Coach Barnett. He is going to endure Happy Gilmore, apparently, 2. Let's pray that it's not Caddyshack 2.
Well, with the development of Adam Sandler's career, both behind the camera and in front of the camera, he's a completely different man than he was when this first Happy Gilmore came out. I have high hopes that Happy Gilmore 2 will live up to the hype because of Adam Sandler's own personal development.
So the important thing to note, too, is Paige Sporonic is in, as is...
very important. That's important to know.
as is Sydney Sweeney.
In?
Yeah, she's going to be the card gal.
Oh.
Connor Clark is with us. He's on camera, Hail Varsity YouTube channel. You'll hear him all season long with KFOR and Saltdogs baseball coverage.
Right now in talking Sydney Sweeney.
Well,
yes,
he is.
Apparently.
Well, we transitioned from Barney to baseball now, and Connor, you're with us. So, road trip. Give us some do's and don'ts, as you've no doubt called your fellow brethren around the play-by-play world for bus trips, because you're locked in for quite a few road trips here, covering the Dogs home and away. I'm sure the home, you probably got 18 in this morning.
I wish. I wish that was the case. We got home at like 3 a.m. last night after a little bit of a delay on the highway, and I guess it was a true first road trip experience having something go wrong in the traveling.
What went wrong with the travel?
Well, we were 30 minutes south of Sioux City, and
it's 2.5 hours from
yeah, and that's
Sioux City.
That's a pretty easy drive in my book. And we come upon a semi-truck that is on its side across the highway.
So it's blocking.
It is blocking everybody. And the bus pulls up, and we're like 3 cars behind it. So that added a cool 2.5 hours to our trip home.
Oh, my God.
But luckily, everybody in that incident was okay, including all the cars behind it. But definitely delayed us a bunch. But we have a cool story to tell now. A bunch of the players actually went out of the bus and helped get the guy out of the truck who was still in there.
Really?
So they yanked him out, and first responders came like 5 minutes later, and that was that. We were just waiting.
What happened to the dude? Just rolled?
Apparently a car cut him off and then sped off. So the car was no longer there that caused the accident, apparently. So that's interesting. But we had a weird night somewhere in Iowa last night. So
tell me, have you developed the skill to be able to sleep on a bus just yet? Because I always remember Michael Dixon.
It's called alcohol.
From the past. I think that's still an open container.
Oh, wow. No, that's a good question.
Because I remember Michael Dixon always putting up like 3 a.m.
Elijah.
tweets of him watching like tennis on his phone from like 3 a.m. because he couldn't sleep on the bus. Have you developed that skill yet?
No, definitely not. I've tried. I bought a neck pillow somewhere in South Dakota because I came unprepared. I was the rookie on the bus. It was pretty apparent because a lot of players had, pillows, blankets. Some of them brought mattress toppers to, put on the floor of the bus. That might be pretty popular for the trip up to Winnipeg in the next couple of weeks, but I am still a rookie. I need to be more prepared next time.
Make sure that's the melatonin gummy you're taking.
Yeah. That will certainly go a long way.
Don't take the other gummies to Canada. They'll never let you out.
No.
Nope.
Now starring Connor Clark in Locked Up Abroad. You had a chance to see the squad, Bud. You're pretty fired up. I was talking to Charlie Meyer earlier. He was not kind enough to come by. And, dude, I'm stoked that Pete Incaviglia in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah, that's a big name here. He's here with the Cleveland Railroaders this year in a managing/coaching role, so that's really cool. But yeah, I mean, the Dogs have played 6 games already. They played 3 up in Fargo. They played 3 in Sioux City. They split all 6 of those games. They won the series in Fargo. They lost the series in Sioux City. Last night was a rain-shortened game. We only got through 5, and then it was an absolute monsoon. The playing field was a lake by the end of it, so that was a little bit unfortunate too. And of course, it happens right when the Dogs start to get momentum.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, so good. The guys still trying to figure some things out. It's a very young team. There are 8 rookies on this roster, so just trying to figure things out. Highlights, however, though, have been the starting rotation's been awesome. Zach Keenan will pitch tonight. He threw 5 scoreless, earned run-wise. Last time out, he gave up 1 run. It wasn't earned, and struck out 5 with only 1 walk. So he's been really, really good. A pretty big surprise, Foster Pace on Mother's Day threw 7 innings and only gave up 1 run, and he only had 1 start in his last 24 appearances. So he just gets shoved into the starting role and throws a gem of a game. So that was pretty big for the Saltdogs as well. But I think there's a lot of promise with this group. Again, really young, but I think a lot of really good talent that could go far.
Connor Clark in the booth, his booth with us here as we're on the road. Hail Varsity Radio, Haymarket Park, Saltdogs home opener. Elijah Herbel back in studio. So we've talked a lot of dogs. So we talked road trip do's and don'ts. We now turn our attention to Connor Clark walking. Graduation
Saturday.
Are you shaking the folks down for a graduation gift yet, or no?
I have not. They will get to town tomorrow.
Does that still happen, Elijah?
I got some graduation gifts, mostly alcohol, but hey, I'll take it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean that counts.
Yeah,
is there a short list? I mean, do you have a list for Santa? I.e., I graduate once.
To be quite honest with you, I haven't thought about it one bit.
No, because you're doing baseball.
We've been doing baseball. I finished my college.
You went in early to the draft.
Yes. I finished my college career in a hotel room in Sioux City, so that's kind of how all of this has been going. So it's been kind of a sprint ever since this job was given to me. So really haven't thought about that, but I am excited. It's kind of crazy. Like being on the road, you don't think about it a lot, and then you come back and you realize that you're going to be walking the stage on Saturday, and it's like, whoa, all of a sudden
Life.
The last 4 years are gone. So, what do we do now? So that's kind of the next question. But I'm excited. I know a lot of my friends are excited. Obviously, a lot of my family is excited, and we'll be here for it as well. So should be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
That is good stuff.
Schmidt and I are bringing the air horn Saturday morning.
We are. What we're going to do, too, is we're going to have Connor's night spots around the league. We'll have to get a heads up as where's Connor and the team partying afterwards.
After on Saturday. Oh, on Saturday, that's a good question. I am personally,
Did you find any place in Sioux City?
No, I did not.
You stayed in your room and locked the door, didn't you?
By the time I got back, I either had schoolwork to do or B, I was just too tired.
I did hear a story. A little birdie told me Connor made some money playing blackjack in Fargo.
Yeah, because it's like in the hotel lobby.
Yeah, the box.
Yes.
It's that was a separate place, but there is one in the hotel lobby there too. So we went out after a couple guys after the first win of the year. So that was fun. So nice little celebration.
Connor, appreciate you.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
Good work.
it.
We'll check in with Daddy Burke. Speaking of gambling, Burke's Best Bets on the way with Hail Varsity.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back here, Thirsty Thursday, home opener, Haymarket Park, Saltdogs in action. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. Connor Clark is, he's pulling a Griswold to my right. There's a knot of wires. It's like, hey, Russ, you work on this from the movie. And he is setting up shop. Danny Burke, Pride of Chicago, Burke's Best Bets. Check out Danny's blog and podcast, burksbeat.com. Pride of Chicago, how we doing, man? Thanks for the time.
Of course, happy to be here and happy to see Connor Clark be in action for the home opener. Yeah, I know you said he was going in one direction. I feel like he's going to pull a Bob Uecker, though, right? That's what I'm expecting for him out of the booth, a little major league action going
there is no
I'm getting my hopes up.
There's no plaid sport coat yet on Connor Clark. And I have not heard him utter, frankly, we got hosed on that call. but the season's young. Danny?
Yeah, but by the time July rolls around, you never know.
Right. All bets are off.
Yeah. By the time July rolls around, he's going to be drinking Diet Coke. Because he's... And only Diet Coke, because he swore off the Jack Daniels.
I'll say, you might pull a Harry Carey.
Harry Doyle here, yeah. So we got a lot of NBA and NHL to talk about. Danny, what are you sizing up tonight here for this dreaded, in some Nuggets fans' minds, Game 6? Do you think Denver closes out? Minnesota favored here by 2.5. Let's start with some NBA tonight.
Honestly, I'm pretty torn on the side here because the argument to be made for Minnesota is, all right, they saw what was thrown at Anthony Edwards in Game 5 that worked so efficiently, the double team that you would assume Edwards can adjust at this point, meaning just trying to beat the double team before it fully collapses on him, or at least getting rid of the rock before that's going to be the case. And then the other side of it too is that, well, you also have Mike Conley coming back who can help facilitate and open up some of these lanes to where if he can drive because he's a scoring threat, that'll open up better scoring opportunities for an Anthony Edwards, a Karl Anthony Towns, whoever else it may be contributing. And the home court's going to help them. And I know I can't remember the exact official's name. This is something Elijah might know, but I saw it on Twitter that the officiating crew who was on tonight's game was there for game 3 where the Nuggets were just absolutely, or maybe it was whatever game it was where the Nuggets were distraught. Yeah, game 2. Okay. So, yeah, where they were just distraught, Murray's throwing the heating pad, all of that. So I think it's the same crew there. So maybe it's going to be a series extender. But much like the last couple of games, my inclination would still be with this total because it was down like 204. Now you've seen it go up to 206. I didn't pull the trigger on it like I have the past couple of games, but that's something I definitely looked for an in-game perspective, because even though it's hit the last 2 games, like the second quarter and other parts in the first half, it's been very slow, and you've been able to get a much adjusted number that's soared over by the time the regulation ends. So that's what I'm going to look for with the total. But a play that I do have pre-flop does revolve around the aforementioned Mike Conley. Bet him over 5 assists at the price of minus 135 is what I did. He's averaging almost 8 assists per game this series. He's gone over it in 7 out of 8 games during the entirety of this postseason. In this series against the Nuggets, he leads the team in the advanced metric of potential assists right at about 10. And again, just because of his facilitation abilities, a little bit more comfort at their home floor, and how he's going to be able to dice up the defense and then get those opportunities for the other key players, I think he'll be able to get over 5.5. So that's the one bet that I did make pre-flop tonight.
We love this from Brian saying Danny won him a few bucks with the advice bet in the over on Denver, Minnesota last week. That's what we love from Danny. And Danny, I like the play. Mike Conley over 5.5 assists. Something I'll say is you watch the postseason. Whenever Nikola Jokic goes off for a game, such as he did a couple nights ago, 40 points, you tend to get the natural response of, okay, we need to shut him down as a scorer. I'd look at the assist number on Nikola Jokic. That just comes from a biased Nuggets fan, but I would look at that assist number. He's been a little below average this series. I think it's a big game for Jamal, and I think it's a big game for Jokic as a distributor because the Timberwolves aren't going to let Rudy Gobert get exposed like that again. That's just my 2 cents.
I agree with you, Elijah, and I think he was actually leading the Nuggets in potential assists as well. The only issue is the books still are adjusted for him doing pretty well on his assists, so that's why I didn't end up betting it, but I like your thought process there. Let me ask you this, though, because I feel like we've been waiting for some consistency here from Michael Porter Jr. If Jokic is taken out of the equation, wouldn't that open it up for some guy like MPJ to step up? I feel like this is one of those games where he's going to be knocking down left and right potentially.
One of the shooters, whether it be Jamal, KCP, or Michael Porter Jr. is due for a big game tonight if Jokic turns into that distributor. I don't know. Michael Porter Jr. is so streaky that it tends to go series to series. I wouldn't love the Michael Porter Jr. play, but with KCP being so hot last game, the next best option, because you don't want KCP to beat you like that again, is MPJ. I don't hate the play. He's just streaky, and sometimes it goes series to series. Sometimes it's game to game.
Danny Burke with us, burksbeat.com, podcast and website for all your gambling love. At Danny Burke 5 on Twitter. Did you go in on any futures with the NFL schedule release?
Not yet, but I was asked earlier my thoughts on the Bears. And look, you call me as biased as you want, but I see a realistic avenue where this team can get to double-digit wins. Just 10, though. I'm not saying over 10. I think 9 is the realistic ending point, but 10 is very feasible for this Bears roster and for the schedule that they have concocted. I know it's a little tough because a lot of their division opponents are in the latter half, but after their bye week, you get Washington, Arizona, New England, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Mind you, the Green Bay and Minnesota games are at home, so those should be the winnable divisional games. And by that time, too, you got to think, hopefully Caleb Williams is comfortable with the play style and comfortable with the playbook, and everybody's getting acclimated. So over 8.5, no, I don't want to suggest laying minus $145 this far out, but I would only bet the over if they're giving you 8.5 wins for the Bears.
I like the Bears to make the postseason. I'm not sure what the odds are there. I really, really like that as a wild card.
I do too. I think minus 105 was the cheapest that I saw.
I just think you've got too much momentum with what Detroit's got going, and you got Jordan Love, and you're both going to hate me because, I just think those are your two teams out of the Central for me that are postseason. I think Atlanta might be a bit too trendy, might be too knee-jerky, but with their schedule, and you get Kirk plus those weapons and a decent defense and the division they're in, doesn't Atlanta kind of have to make the playoffs?
Definitely. I mean, what's going to be fascinating is if Kirk Cousins has a streak of a couple of bad games, and then if that discourse of Michael Penix Jr. being put in is going to come about. But honestly, Kirk Cousins is one of the more consistent quarterbacks in the NFL. The question now is, how does he fit into an entirely different dynamic, different culture, coaching staff, roster? I'm sure he'll be fine, but you're right. It has to be playoffs or nothing for this Atlanta team based on the offensive weapons that they have accumulated over the past few seasons.
Danny, last thought here as we go to the AFC West in terms of futures. I hate to say it, but is betting the Chiefs to win the AFC West the safest money you can make? I'm not sure what the numbers look like in terms of the odds, but I don't see anyone else winning that division again.
No, look, I agree with you. I mean, realistically, it's not going to be another team, but you always have to factor in the potential of an injury that could just completely sway something in a different direction. And the books put the tax on the Chiefs so much that it's just not something that I want to have my money held up in for such a long investment. So I'd rather play the waiting game with them. But at the end of the day, you're right. It's got to be the Chiefs or nothing, especially because the Chargers are now kind of in a little bit of a setback with who they lost in the offseason.
Danny, hang tight. I need some NHL for tonight, okay?
You got it.
All right, Danny Burke continues on Burke'sBeat.com. We'll wind down a road show Thursday here at Haymarket Park. Saltdogs season opener, or home opener, I should say, powered by Cornhead Lager.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
One final time, road show here at Haymarket Park. It's the Saltdogs home opener. Great to spend the afternoon here. Just amazing weather. Get on out to Haymarket for Saltdog baseball. And Thirsty Thursday, Danny Burke with us from Burke'sBeat.com. Pride of Chicago, Burke's Best Bets. We do this every Thursday. Elijah Herbel back in studio. Chris Schmidt, big thanks to Coach Barnett for joining us earlier. And Brandon Vogel from Counter Read in hour one. Reminder to buckle up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. It prevents injuries. Only if properly worn. Make it click. A message from the NDOT, Highway Safety Office. Danny, a pair of games on ice tonight. Rangers, Hurricanes. Rangers lead 3-2. And then Oilers, Canucks. That is tied at 2. Any money line likes or props you're in on?
I haven't bet anything yet, but what I would consider if I were going to narrow it down between the two games is the first one with the Rangers and the Hurricanes. Obviously, the Hurricanes capturing a little bit of momentum. They were down 3-0, and now they're still obviously on the brink of elimination, and the pressure is on even more so after winning those two games. I would consider the full game under 5 in the hook. I know that's seen a little bit of love in the market toward the under. I know a lot of people like the angle of the first period under 1.5 goals as well, but I personally would probably look to target more so the full 60 minutes for this event. I mean, Shesterkin has been otherworldly for quite some time, but in this postseason, not much is different. Throughout the goaltenders this postseason, he's second in goal save above expected. And on the other side, Anderson's been just fine. I mean, like in a good way, he's been fine enough, especially over these last two games. And he's still got over a 90% save percentage throughout the postseason. He's 7th in goal save above expected, in the realm where you want to be, just not as dominant as Shesterkin. But in these elimination games, you typically get a tightly played contest. And these offenses aren't necessarily prolific compared to, say, when you look at the Canucks and Oilers, what you usually expect. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a tightly played game. And if I had to make a bet, that's what I would go with, the under 5.5 between the Rangers and the Hurricanes. And with the Canucks and Oilers, look, metrically speaking, after the games, when you look back and see who really should have won those games and deserves to win, I mean, Edmonton is just completely dominating the box score, but Edmonton sometimes can't help but get out of their own way. And the plus money is just so intriguing with Vancouver coming back home. I would lean the Canucks, but I don't think I'm going to touch that one tonight, guys.
You dove into any Friday homework with Bruins, Panthers, or Stars, Avalanche?
I kind of gravitate toward Elijah's Avalanche. I know we were having some good banter the last time around, and I was saying Dallas, and I chirped him a little on Twitter, and then naturally Dallas almost blew, the 4-0 lead, but they held on. I would look at Colorado because I think it's actually a relatively affordable price at home for them here at about minus $1.20. I haven't bet anything, but that would be my first thought. In terms of the other game, I think the plus money on the Bruins is pretty fascinating in itself. I mean, Swayman's been the best goaltender throughout the postseason, and the Bruins are still the Bruins at the end of the day, so seldom do you get plus money with them. So, again, that would just be a lean for me right now.
Danny, we appreciate it. We need a rooftop or bleachers picture from you at Wrigley sometime soon. We'll dive into some of those college football early over-unders next time. You take care, and always appreciate you jumping in.
Absolutely. My pleasure. And tell Connor good luck tonight.
Will do. Appreciate you. There he is, Danny Burke with us. BurksBeat.com. Check out his work, his blog, his podcast. And we'll be back at you tomorrow with the Friday edition of Hail Varsity Radio. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, get the podcast. Subscribe to Hail Varsity YouTube. Thanks.